Hey everybody, happy Tuesday. Raymond here. 2 minutes, hopefully on Tuesday for you, and I'll do the big show that I do every week on Thursday. But I want to talk to you about a lesson that I learned this weekend, specifically in working with the X100F. It's two lessons. It's one specifically about the X100F, and it's one about, well, we'll get to that in a minute. So we've had the X100F here in the lab since April. As I mentioned before, we bought it, don't have any kind of deal with Fuji. And the reason was for the simplicity and to check it out and really to, get into the Fuji system and see what it's all about in a very easy way, which is the X100F. The lens is built right in. Well, there's like 6, 7 different custom function buttons, and you can control the dials on the X100F even by pushing them in or turning the dial, and there's an amazing amount of configuration options. In fact, I've been using the X100F without the command dials at all, because you set the aperture on the lens if you want to, you set the ISO and the shutter speed on a dial on top, and there's even an exposure compensation dial up there. So I haven't figured out any reason to use the dials. They work in the menus and stuff like that, but I use that little joystick on there too. Well, I decided over the weekend that I wanted to use the dials more so I could see easily how to configure the rear command dial, but I could not figure out how to configure the front command dial. And it really frustrated me. I was actually on a little hike after it rained, because I love doing that, you guys know that. And I kept going through the menu and I couldn't figure it out. And I was like, darn it, this dial's here. It's not doing anything right now. It's not set to do anything, and I want to change it. Well, I learned that if you set the exposure compensation dial on top of the camera to C, that will allow you to use the front dial to do exposure compensation. And if you set the ISO to A, where I had it, but then also you change a menu setting, you can toggle the front button back and forth between changing ISO and changing exposure compensation. Now, ISO and exposure compensation, the front dial and exposure compensation are right near each other on the camera, but ISO, that's pretty handy, even though there's an ISO dial on top of the camera too. So I don't know, I just wanted to start messing with it. And so I did a Google search on it, on the X100F front command dial, and it came right up in the manual as exactly how to do it. So I sat there and I spent 10 times longer than trying to figure it out in the camera than if I had just done a little RTFM. Some of you know what I mean by that. So anyway, just a little reminder, just a little bit lesson. One, if you're using the X100F, you can change that front command dial, crack the manual, and B, don't spend too long trying to do anything on your camera before you pull out the manual, because the explanation might be right there for you, as it was in my case with the X100F. That's all for today. Guys, I'll talk to you on my bigger show on Thursday.